Hey there, my friend. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. In just a moment, you're going to hear a powerful and inspiring conversation between myself and one of our Fit Father program members, John Tucker. John's an amazing guy. He is 60 years young. Emphasis on young because over the past 2 years using our Fit Father program, he's dropped over 40 pounds, regained tremendous amount of strength, and he's now just so much more active, aligned, and energized. And it never ceases to amaze me what's possible and how much the body can change in a short amount of time when you get the right methods. In fact, John shares that he lost 12 pounds in his very first month using this program, and he really dialed in his nutrition, started exercising in our new way using MRTs, and is just on fire with his life. And he looks forward to starting old school muscle when he gets his body fat down to 15%. He's hovering right at like 16% now. So he's a lean guy. He's made such phenomenal progress, and I want you to listen to his story because you're going to find some inspiration in it. And it's not like John didn't have to overcome obstacles. He's got some knees that are bad from years of wear and tear. He has a busy schedule. He's got his family. So there's a lot of things that John needed to be able to create a program to integrate in, and he found that inside the FFP. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Fit Father, John Tucker. All right, John, welcome officially to the Fit Father Project podcast, my friend. I'm super happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
This is going to be a good conversation. I can already tell. You look fantastic. I know I mentioned that before we even hit record. And I want to recount your journey and really get into that. But before we do, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to all the guys who are listening, name, age, where you're from, and anything you'd like to share about work and family.
Okay. My name's John Tucker. I'm 60 years young. I say young because I do feel pretty young, actually. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. Sort of a small town, but it sounds like a small town, not really that small. It's called Euless. And I'm a freelance photographer by profession, and have one 30-year-old son who's married and lives about 30 minutes from here. And so, so that's about it.
All right, I got to ask, because I think of freelance photography is a interesting profession. Like, how'd you get into that? What kind of things do you take pictures of? We'll talk about health and fitness, but I'm just genuinely curious. Like, what kind of stuff do you do on that front?
Sure. Yeah. My photography interest goes way back to high school, actually. I've shot for the yearbook and the school newspaper, and then got away from it after high school for several years, and then picked it back up later in life and shoot mainly real estate. And I've done some portraiture and business headshots. I really love nature photography, though. That's where I really just feel like I connect with the creator. When I'm not in nature, so I have a ton of bird and wildlife photography behind me.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I feel super similar as well. And I mean, I think humans have felt that way for the longest time, just painting landscapes. And sometimes you can capture something where you feel closer to God, in that moment. And I think it's amazing how photography has become such a big thing now. Everyone's got those iPhones and they're snapping higher quality photos. So having a professional here and you got the right equipment, I'm sure you have some great photos. Let's get into your Fit Father journey, though. What really prompted you to start looking at improving your health and fitness? When did you start? Let's go into like the origin, if you will, of this journey.
Oh, sure. Well, I've been working out since probably my mid-20s. Started then, with the Health and Fitness magazine, or actually it was called, I think it was Muscle Fitness or something like that. But anyways, the bodybuilding magazine. And that's, so I had high aspirations there and hoping to, build up that way. And it just never happened. I started out just on my own. I did not have any guidance, no trainer, not anything like that. So got away from it in my 30s, just family and other responsibilities, just, staying real busy with other things. And then I hit my 40s and I started noticing just a drop in my energy level. And I was really out of shape by then. I put on some weight. I don't remember how much, but I put on quite a bit of weight and just very lethargic. And my blood pressure had shot up quite a bit. So that's when I decided to get back to it. So at 42, I started working out again. My challenge through the years from that point up until when I joined Fit Father, My big challenge was the nutrition. I could just never get that nailed down. And when finally I found you online through, I was just doing a search in like 2019. I'm like, man, I need some new workouts. I'm bored. I'm burnt out. So you were a top hit on Google, either your website or your YouTube channel. But anyway, I checked out both, did several of the workouts for a few months. And then in 2020, around Father's Day, that's when I decided to make the commitment. And so I bought in on the Father's Day special. I think it came out to like $1 a day for 30 days. And I'm like, man, what have I got to lose? And so, I started out first week of July with the 30 days and lost 12 pounds that first month. And for me, for me, that was kind of a big deal. It's not the 25 or 35 or 40 a lot of guys lose, but I felt like that for me, that was a big step. And then I just stuck with it from that point forward.
All right, well, let's talk about the nutrition too, because I know that was the big thing. So you get inside the Fit Father program, you start reading through the meal plan. What really stood out to you as you're going through it as like big aha moments, things that were big shifts in your routine, and what did you really start to implement? Let's talk about the nutrition side of the program for you.
Okay. Well, one thing that immediately stood out was one of the plans is the intermittent fasting, the 16-8 or whatever window you're able to work out on a daily basis. And what was funny is I've been doing that already for quite a while, roughly 16-8. So I thought, well, I can work that right in without any problem. That's not going to be a big task for me. And then I started looking at the recommended grocery list. And of course, I've built on that since then. I have my own grocery list that I take to the store with me now. Just, I could probably do it by memory, but, it's just nice to mark everything. And so I started looking at the foods, and there were very few items that I didn't like. Most of it I thought, yeah, that's good stuff. So I was able to do that, and then just the flexibility in there. It's not like a absolutely don't eat this. You can only eat this over here. So that really was a big draw for me as well. Plus the fact that, the one free meal per week. I mean, I won't lie. I still enjoy that. I like my Tex-Mex and the Italian food and whatever I feel like that week. So, but it's just once a week, and it's the whole nutrition plan is sustainable. That's what I like. It's repeatable. It's easy to work with. And once you adjust your palate, really is what you're doing, because we're so used to high fat, high salt foods. It's adjusting your taste buds to really the good stuff that we should be eating anyway. And so those were the big things that stood out to me with the nutrition. Oh, and the super fuel smoothies and shakes.
Was that something you used as a morning routine when you're on the program, the super fuel shakes?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I still do them almost every morning. This morning I didn't. I did something a little different, but most mornings I do one of the super fuel smoothies. I love them. They're great. And there are several recipes, so you can cycle through them. And I've kind of learned how to modify ingredients here and there, because I figure out the macros and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just have fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so apparent from what you're sharing that you're making this like your routine, especially a couple years into this thing, that it's like you have your go-to foods. You're able to have enough knowledge now to make any substitutions. And that's beautiful. I think that's the key to sustainability, is trying to take this Fit Father framework and then make it adapt. So it's like John's plan specifically. And, you have just knowledge to do many different things. That's awesome. I'd love to ask you about the exercise too. What was it like, having a background of interest in fitness and doing lots of different kinds of fitness stuff over the years? How were the Fit Father workouts any different than what you tried in the past? And what was your experience like, at least in the first phase of the program? We'll start there and we'll go through the phases.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, what I'd always been used to was a lot of weight workouts and maybe throwing in a little bit of elliptical cardio stuff.
Yeah, but keeping weights and cardio as separate entities, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so that first Fit Father workout I did was, of course, the Apex 10. And I did it right over here in the living room to my left. And I started out with I think 10-pound weights or something. It's all I had at the time. And I got up to, I think, level 5 or 6. And even on my way back down, and I thought I was in shape. That Apex 10, that levels the ground for all of us, I think. Yeah. And so I'm like, man, I am not in the shape that I thought I was in, because 5 levels and then coming down, I had to go to my knees for the renegade rows. And I have to admit, I hated those things for a while. I've gotten to where I actually do them voluntarily now. So I'm either...
You're not alone in that, for sure.
Right. I'm either insane or just I've really come around to,
Yeah, I think it's fair to say your core is probably phenomenally stronger now from doing all of these Fit Father workouts.
You're right. Yeah, because that is more core than it is really back work. With the movement. But yeah, by the time I finished up the Apex 10 in the first month, my last one, I was using 20-pound weights and got it in 37 or 38 minutes and didn't have to go to my knees for push-ups or renegade rows.
In 1 month, right? Isn't it impressive what the body can do with the right stimulus? It never ceases to amaze me, to go from using 10-pound weights and dying at it to 30 days later, I don't know how many workouts under your belt, probably at least 6, but 6 to 10 to 12, whatever. And it's cool, the change that can happen so fast.
Right. Yeah. I think that was actually my 10th workout because given the day that I started in July, and then I worked my way through up to July 31st, I think it was. And so I think it was 10 workouts. And with it being right sort of in the middle of that, the whole COVID pandemic thing, my gym had shut down. So I didn't have access to being able to do good weight workouts. I can't remember. Is the Big 5 phase 1? Yeah. So I wasn't able to do that. So I just opted for 3 Apex 10s per week.
Perfect. That's as effective as it gets for weight loss for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. So it was quite a journey that first month, but I loved it. 12 pounds lost. And I'm like, let's go, man. I'm ready.
And what was your initial weight goal for guys listening? You're starting a little over 200, right? 204, if I remember.
I was about 204, 205, somewhere in there. And my goal was about 180.
And what do you weigh today, just for fun?
I weigh every Friday morning still. And this morning I weighed 160.8.
And it's fair to say you didn't imagine you had 40 pounds to lose, right? When you were at 205?
Not at all. Yeah. I hit 180. The reason I set that goal is because several years ago, a buddy of mine and myself, we got together and decided to kind of do something together to keep each other motivated. And I lost, I got down to 180, but it was one of those kind of fad diets. You probably remember it's like the what was it?
HCG. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was that diet. It was basically
ultra low calorie, maybe 500 calories a day, mostly protein. And maybe you're not used the HCG shots or pills or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. So, so we did that. And I got down to 181, I think, with that. But once it was over with, I couldn't sustain that.
No kidding.
You
don't say.
You bounce back up. You go from 500 calories a day to your regular caloric intake, and your weight shoots back up. So,
without having any habits that you built in the process. And I imagine this is a big part of this program has been the habits you've kind of created.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the habits, just the routine. Once you get that down, then, I mean, success is yours to have, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Because then it's just consistency. It's like you get this habit structure and you just start turning that gear, work it. Not to be perfect, but as best as you can moving forward.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, nobody's perfect with it, but the goal is, even in those moments of that say you may overdo it on a weekend or whatever with the food for whatever reason, uh, knowing what you need to do to correct that. You call it course correction. Just get right back on it. And yeah, you don't really miss a beat with it that way.
Right, exactly. It's like this program can be like your guardrails to help make sure that you don't have these big deviations. And like you said, mentioned with the free meal, like that's a part of your life. That's planned. And it's so much different to have the sushi or the Tex-Mex or the pizza or whatever when it's proactively chosen on this day as a part of your routine than getting stressed, reactively ordering something, not eating well. It's like such a different scenario. Even the same foods can be consumed in a completely different relationship to them. And I think that makes all the difference.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole thing, and, I mean, like I said, I mean, sometimes it's, if there's something special going on a weekend, I've been known to do that twice, but I don't stick with it, and I still do a Sunday fast, usually a couple of times a month, and I make sure to do that. If I've kind of overdone it Friday and Saturday, I just go ahead and fast and flush it out Sunday. I mean, that's what works for me,
Yeah,
and
works for many guys. What damage control that is. One habit, right? Of giving the body some rest to eliminate that bloat, get digestion back on track. I mean, like, it's a great tool in the toolbox. And I'm glad that's with you for life now. Like, how cool is that? You have this fasting tool that works for you. Like, I think it's amazing. I'm so glad you learned that from us.
it is. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And you're talking about bloating. It's funny. I can tell when I've slightly overdone it because I have a pair of jeans I was finally able to fit into comfortably. They're 32 waist. And if I put those on and I'm just kind of like, man, what happened? I know it's bloat, from just probably overdid it a little too much, so a couple of days back on it and yeah, it's all good.
I'm glad you mentioned that because those are like the subtle indicators. Often it's with our wardrobe, like the one pair of pants that fits you right when you're nice, feeling like lean and tight in the midsection. And I think it is another benefit of when you do lose a lot of weight and you get to that lean state because you can really notice those smaller fluctuations with bloat being like a leading indicator that your body's not functioning like optimally or you just need to guide things back. So I think that's cool because it's a feedback loop for you. Now you're like, okay, let's course correct a little bit back, tighten it up, and then you just continue to wind your way through this thing into your 70s, 80s. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. So I want to ask you, are there any other changes if you lost the 40 pounds to any of your health parameters, whether it's blood work or whether it's how good joints feeling good or bad? Like talk to me about some other changes that happen physically with you through this program.
Yeah. It's funny you had mentioned the joint health. For years, I say for years, for several years leading up to my weight reduction, my knees really bothered me quite a bit. I mean, I couldn't even, do just a regular body weight squat without my knees screaming at me. And yeah, and when I learned that I think it's for every pound of body weight, it's 4 pounds of pressure on the knees. When I learned that, I thought, man, I'm looking forward to getting my weight down, and that's one thing that I've noticed. I mean, I still have to be kind of careful. I've kind of abused my knees over the years, so I still have to be a little bit careful, but I can do a body weight squat straight down and back up and not feel it in the knees at all.
Congratulations. Talk about quality of life, right? I mean, outside of weight and aesthetics, like when your joints don't feel good, life's not as joyful. When your joints feel good, life's more joyful.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. And I remember 2019, my son graduated college and we went on his graduation trip. We went up to South Dakota and did a lot of hiking and yeah, it was great. And there was this one spot in the hike where it required a pretty big step up. My son did it and he said, "Dad, are you coming?" And I said, "I'm going to let you go." I knew my knees couldn't handle that step up. There was just no way. I mean, they were already hurting me, but now it's just totally different. I do a lot of hiking it's just not an issue at all.
Nice. Congratulations. I mean, it's a testament probably to both getting the muscles around those joints stronger and just eating better and reducing inflammation, and just having better recovery capacity from the fact that you're stimulating your body so well. It's all those things.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about, no, keep on going, please.
I was just going to mention that I also have worked a collagen supplement into my regimen. And I'm sure that's had a little bit to do with the joint health. It's supposed to help. At least that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, take note, guys, especially who, are approaching, 60 and you really want to prioritize joint health at that point, like collagen, good thing. I'm a big fan. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to you about the inner game of this, maybe like the mindset, the changes you've experienced, whether it's confidence, energy, emotional health, spiritual health. Have there been any of these changes you've noticed as your body's transformed?
Wow. Yeah. There's just been, I've given that question quite a bit of thought over the past few days, because it's just an overall feeling of well-being. Confidence. I would call that confidence, just feeling better in clothing, feeling, I would not have sat down with you 2 years ago, to talk about any of this stuff, because it's looking back to compare where I am today mentally. It's just, it's so much more positive, and of course, being a Christian, we are holistic creatures. I guess that's the word. I mean, we're physical and emotional, mental, spiritual. We're the whole package, and it seems that each aspect affects the other aspects. So it all just everything's just worked together to improve my life overall and my outlook. I mean, sure, there are some, we all run into to some of the negative things that happen to us in life and challenges, problems, things like that, but it's up here and how we approach those things, and kind of take ownership of it instead of letting those problems own us and determine our course through our attitudes and things like that.
Beautifully said. Totally agree with you. Yeah, it's not the things that happen, but let's say how we relate to them. And from the right perspective, all these challenges bear with them the seed of opportunity of either growth and overcoming, or from a new pivot in a new direction. I like the quote that God works in mysterious ways. And I think that's been the case. A lot of the things that I've considered personal tragedies in one moment end up being some of the greatest fodder for transformation. And I think the body teaches us that as well in this journey.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's, I used to go to the church where Chuck Swindoll pastors. So, there's something that he says, something to the effect of life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it or handle it, or what your approach is to it. And there's a lot of truth in that. It really is.
I totally agree. And I'd be curious to hear your reflections on this. But what I see often is just the process of working this program, going through structured phases, intentionally every week, doing hard things. It starts to shift your mindset a little bit into more of like a growth mindset, into a more resilient mindset, a mindset of like possibility, and a mindset of approaching things instead of dodging things. Have you seen that kind of translate into your work life and other areas, just from like particularly getting after the workouts in a big structured way?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's funny because sometimes I'll say, let's look at how we're going to accomplish something. Say if I'm, sitting down with a friend and we're talking about some issue or whatever, and I'm like, well, let's look at how we can do it, not if we can do it, but let's look at how this can be done, and I don't know. I think sometimes it, may rub someone the wrong way because they're just, they've developed the mindset of some things just can't be done. But I'm like, look, let's just exhaust the possibilities. See what we can come up with.
I love it. What a way to live. I mean, I'll choose that path all day, every day, for sure. It's like, because we can astound ourselves and we don't know what is possible and we're capable of. I think it's a prime example of like when you started this program, I imagine you didn't see yourself as like having achieved or experienced all this. You just kind of like begin a journey and then you work it in consistency. And then, a couple years down the line, you're like, wow, well, holy crap, look at this. This is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep on going, please. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay. No, not at all. I did want to get back momentarily to you. You asked about any health improvements, blood work, things like that. Of course, my blood work did improve some. I was hoping to be able to get off of my blood pressure med. It's very low dose. It's like 10 milligrams a day, but I haven't got there yet. And my doctor just thinks it might be the whole genetic thing with my dad. He dealt with high blood pressure most of his adult life, so we'll see how that goes. But in January, earlier this year in January, on January 19th, I just by total surprise, really, I found myself in the ER at the hospital down the road, being told that I needed to have a stent put in to my LAD. And for those who don't know, that's left anterior descending artery. Did I get that right?
You did. They call that the widowmaker too. It's one of the worst ones to have a coronary block and a heart attack with. Yeah.
Right. So when it was all said and done, I had about a 95 to 97% blockage. I was in and out of there in probably just over 24 hours.
Would you go to Scott Baylor White, by the way, vascular hospital? I'm just curious. I know.
Actually, I didn't know. There's a Texas Health Resources, I think is what it is, down the street. Yeah. But anyway, they did a great job, and at first they thought I'd had a mild heart attack, but then as time passed and they took a closer look at the test results, they said I had like a precursor to what would have ended up being a heart attack. Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, when they're getting ready to check me out, get me out of there, my cardiologist is talking to me, and I asked him, I said, well, when do you think I can get back? I'm ready to get back to my routine, And he said, you know what? You're in such great shape compared to a lot of guys who come in at your age. Give yourself a couple of days and you should be good to go. And I'm like, wow. I was pretty amazed. I'm not patting myself on the back at all. I just thank God that I had found Fit Father when I did. And was able to not just lose weight, but improve my overall fitness. So I was able to get through that episode, without any problems.
Powerful, and congratulations. I mean, those are one of those scary things that you don't necessarily have warning signs, but there's a lot of guys have heart attacks with zero warning signs. And even when you get yourself fit, like there could be underlying stuff that's built up over years. Like those plaques didn't happen overnight. That was something that was years, if not decades of building up inflammation and then the deposition of the plaque. So good that the timing all coincided for you. And now you have those patent clear arteries. I'm sure you've had your heart, all sorts of different kinds of scans and checks, and like they know you're good to go now. That's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just saw my primary care physician last week, and he's asking me all these questions. And no, I'm good. And he said, I did notice that now your heart rate appears to be a little low. And I think it was at like 55 or something, or 53, and I said, well, I need to remind you that I do work out a lot, So he said, yeah, people with high fitness level tend to have the lower heart rate. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Very great. I love that. And this is kind of segues into the next question I want to ask you is, along your journey last couple of years, have you had any fun NSVs, non-scale victories, or stories that, that have been, meaningful for you as like mile markers on your journey, stuff that was like made you feel good, whether it's something your son said, coworkers, things you've been able to do? I love sharing some NSVs because I think they're unique for each of us and just a nice testament to the rewards we get for, doing this work.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. At some point, as you go along in your journey, at some point you do reach where the NSVs actually mean more than the number on the scale. That number is still important if you're trying to lose weight, but the NSV, um, that's really where you start seeing the real everyday tangible things. Like if you say you run into, so this has happened to me more than once, run into someone I haven't seen in, 3 or 4 years, and they just kind of glance and don't say a word to you. And it's like, hey, hey, he's like, what? Oh my gosh, it's you. And that's happened so many times. And I'm like, say, what happened to you? You've lost so much weight. And I said, I know. And they said, how do you do that? And then of course, that's when I get to evangelize for Fit Father a little bit. Yeah. But I tell them I say there's no magic to it. It's working out, and you have to manage your diet. It's a good plan. It's a healthy plan. It's eating the way we should be eating anyway. But so it's not like one of these fad diets. Just all meat, no carb stuff, or any some other low carb diet. But yeah, it's just funny to see people's reactions, when I say, hey, don't you recognize me, and say, oh my gosh. And so of course, smaller clothes, I've got a pile of clothes in my closet I probably ought to just give away because they just swallow me now. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
The unexpected cost of losing weight is a new wardrobe. A little expensive, but kind of fun.
That's right. Exactly. There's a particular shirt maker that I was waiting to get down to a certain weight before I started buying their shirts. A little bit pricey compared to what you might pick up at, like maybe a department store or something. But I finally got my weight down, and I started, and I've got a few of their shirts now because they just fit so well. They're well made and they fit well. So,
and then it feels good to feel good, right? I mean, you throw a shirt on that fits you nice, and you're happy with how you look, and that makes you more motivated to want to continue on the path. That's positive momentum, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things that starts to engage when you start to get these NSVs.
Yes. That's exactly right.
I want to ask you about your son. What's it been like for him seeing you? You mentioned that he's into health and fitness. Sounds like he's a fit guy. What's it been like for him to watch you go through this journey and see the kind of changes that you've made in the focus area that you've made your health?
He's been pretty amazed by it, really. He's a big guy. I mean, big as in just working out, a lot of bulk. And I started taking him to the gym with me. He wanted to go when I think he was 13. So he would go with me, excuse me, and just loved working out. That first time on the weights, 13-year-old guy. I mean, come on. Yeah, he's in there, pumping the weights, and he has stuck with it through the years. He's 30 now. And so, he's kind of had he's had his own cycles of get a little bit lean and then bulk up a little bit more, and then, just up and down, and I try to encourage him along the way about, really tighten up on your nutrition, and he does. I mean, he listens, sometimes he'll ask my advice about a certain food or meal or how to fix a certain something, I mean, for a long time, I was posting to the Facebook group meals that I was fixing, like the personal pizzas. All of them were Fit Father approved, and John's Big Salad. That's what I called it, John's Big Salad, and all this different stuff, and the guys were going nuts over it, and so I would share it with Daniel, my son, and so he's picked up on fixing some of that stuff for himself. So it's a lot of fun, to have that in common with your son.
Absolutely. And what a thing to have in common with your core family members, fitness, activity, like looking and feeling good. Cause that gives you guys are giving you're investing in years and years of more energy and capability with him. And he's got a long life ahead of him. So I know you guys have a lot left to do. And it's amazing that, you have this level of fitness now. So cool.
Right. Yeah. And he's, I kind of teased him a little bit. He just turned 30 a couple of months ago. And I said, well, get ready. Those T levels are going to start dropping. He said, oh, Dad, come on. Don't tell me that. I said, man, by the time you hit 40, you're going to be ready for Fit Father. I'm telling you.
Sure. But you can still flex and tell him that old man muscle is very possible, though, with the right program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Nice. I want to ask you a little bit about your mission statement. When you started, what some of your initial motivations were, and how that may compare to where you're at today. If you've revisited the mission statement, or how you'd kind of contrast what you would have written down as motivated you in the beginning of this journey, and now where you're at, what motivates you now?
Sorry, I need to close that.
Good man. It looks like you're actually
Yeah. Well, we've got storms moving through, and they just moved out, I think. So the sun was blasting in. What was that question again? I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. So I was going to ask you about your mission statement. Your mission statement when you started, what was motivating you at the time, and how would you contrast that with your motivations are today? I think it's nice to give people a snapshot of like what maybe your early motivations were beginning phase one. And then now, having worked this, what would you write down as your mission statement today? What are some of the motivating factors that drive you forward now?
Well, actually, just to be totally honest, I did not write a mission statement starting out, because I knew the main thing I wanted to do, what I wanted to accomplish, was what I'd always struggled with, and that was getting my body fat down. Which of course involves weight loss, but that my main goal was to get the weight down, to get the body fat down, to of course, to improve my health. Um, now those goals compared to what I have today, but right now I'm sitting at about 16.6% body fat. Okay. And my goal is to get to 15 and then go into OSM. I definitely want to do that, so I'm hoping to do that probably by February.
I'm excited for you. I think you're going to love OSM. I mean, it's kind of like bringing back some of that old classic strength training you used to do, just doing it in a little more scientifically based way. You're going to kick butt on OSM. Okay. So Get the body fat down a little bit more, then start OSM. Nice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I got my DEXA scan, whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, it was right there on the cusp of, 16.6, 15. Is it real? It's 1%, that big a deal. I thought, nope, my goal has been 15%. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to go for it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I know too, you stick with the fasting habits, stick with the good nutrition, keep working it for a few more months, and it's kind of like inevitable. It's just a matter of time where that happens, which is really cool.
Right. And the fact that the technician was kind of surprised by this, as was I, because she's showing my results. And she said, I don't know how you did this, but you're dropping that body fat without losing any lean mass. And I said, I don't know.
Well, the answer is you're doing a proper high protein diet with a lot of resistance training. There's a lot of reason for your body to hold on to that muscle.
So doing that will, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest, when you're on a calorie deficit, the biggest thing that helps retain lean tissue is strength training, particularly with heavy enough loads. So your body has a good reason to hold on to that muscle, plus eating enough protein. So you're hitting all the right, and taking good supplements too. Those are certainly helping as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I figured it was kind of a combination.
It is for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I want to ask you kind of a little bit towards the conclusion of this interview is what does it mean to you to be a fit father? What does that mean to you after you've gone through this program?
Oh, wow. Of course, other than just personal satisfaction of being in shape and feeling good and having good health. I think being an inspiration really to my son is big. That's I don't know, just anytime he gives me, 2 thumbs up about, how much, how much better I look and how much better my attitude is. And, um, how much I inspire him. Yeah, that really hits, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
It
it is a
really
big
is.
deal.
And then, of course, affecting other people too.
Yeah.
I've had people at my gym walk up and, you're just kind of in conversation and they say, well, man, I'll tell them that they inspired me in some way, because there are some guys there around my age or maybe a little older. And I'm like, man, you're in here doing this. You could be at home sitting on the couch. And they say, yeah, I said, you're just an inspiration. And then but you know what? They throw it right back at me. They're like, oh, no, you're the inspiration, and I'm just like, wow, really?
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I want to turn it. I was just going to say, the brotherhood and the Facebook group's important too. Just being able to, post up something and, and it moves someone in some way, inspires them or motivates them. And I glean a lot from that Facebook as well. So that's a great group we have going.
It for sure is. And I know your posts are very valued by many guys, both in terms of like the nutrition stuff, but just, you have a visually great transformation. I think it's really cool for guys to see that, to be inspired by what's possible when you put in the work and you have the consistency. So thanks for showing up in a big way. And we're really happy you're a fit father. I want to turn it over to the final question. Any advice you'd give to guys in the brotherhood, advice or shout outs, for guys maybe starting out or guys that are at your stage who have a lot of miles under their belt and are now looking at, chasing down new goals? Some words of wisdom to conclude this would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as far as starting out goes, I would say, sell out to the lifestyle, get whatever work within your own physical parameters. If you have certain medical issues or physical issues that may prevent you from jumping right in, with both feet, do what you can, but sell out to it, and give it time. I mean, the way I look at it is, you don't put the weight on in just a matter of, 3, 4, 5 months. So you're probably not going to get as fit as you want to be that quickly. And then as far as sticking with it, once you've been going at it for say a year or two, by that time, I mean, speaking for me personally, it's no longer a program. It's just a lifestyle. It's the way I live. Yeah. So if you can make that mental switch, I think of it as a mental switch. You just flip, at some point the switch will flip from, well, I'm on this program to where you're probably really not thinking about it that much, because it's a lifestyle. It's just, you just do it automatically.
That's beautifully said, John. And I want to say congratulations for having put in the work so that switch flipped, because that switch flipped for you because you scheduled your workouts for a year, because you tried all the nutrition stuff, because you saw the results, because you got the NSVs. Like that switch flip is the result that have, where it's a lifestyle for you. You don't need to think about it. And that makes me so happy, because that's what's going to keep you on your path many years down into the future with great, fantastic health. I'm excited for all the things you're going to experience with your son, Daniel. And it's amazing. Really good stuff.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Just sticking with it. And like you said, just planning it, scheduling it. That's definitely the keys. Yeah. Those are nice. The keys.
Well, John, thanks for coming on and sharing the wisdom that you do have today. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to release this episode of the Brotherhood soon.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the program, and congratulations on the baby. And I look forward to more years with Fit Father.